set it up that way.
Hey, are you ready to take control of your financial future? Welcome to Private Money Club. Private Money Club is the ultimate online platform connecting real estate entrepreneurs with private money lenders just like you. Whether you're looking to fund your next deal or lend money to grow your wealth, Private Money Club is your go-to resource. You can post deals, find funding, connect with other like-minded professionals. It's just a community. It's a community that you need to plug into. If you're new to the game, no problem. Our Learn platform and our weekly coaching webinars and our on-demand resources are here to guide you every step of the way. Join a thriving network of real estate experts who are already making an impact, and they're waiting to partner with you. So Private Money Club gives you the tools, the training, the connections, and everything you need to achieve your financial goals. So why don't you start now by going to privatemoneyclub.com. We'll see you inside. Hey, you need to become your own bank. And it's as simple as changing one thing, and that is where your money goes first. I mean, think about it. Household debts in this country are at all-time highs. You got tons of market volatility. You got the potential for Social Security running out of money. You've got global uncertainty, political divide, and you have to figure out where you're going to put your hard-earned savings. I mean, this is one of those times in history where the rich are getting richer, and it is time to learn the secrets of the wealthy. But here's the good news. Every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I put on a free webinar where I teach you how to take back control of your money by teaching you how to become your own bank. So click the link below and let's get started. So let's go into the app, because the app was created after a dating site, believe it or not. So people with money and people that need money. Phone, swipe left. Ooh, I like that one. Swipe right. You want to go on. If you got money, you want to swipe left through all the deals. When you find one you like, boom, you're connected. How much more difficult does this really need to be? This isn't rocket science. They want you to think it is because they want control of your money. It is time to take back control of our money. I want to invite you to a free interactive webinar that we're doing to teach you how to get prepared for what's about to happen and how you can grow, preserve, and protect your wealth and get it ready for a recession or maybe the next Great Depression. So all I need you to do is click the link below. You're not going to want to miss this with all this stuff going on. Are you sick of having your money lying around not doing anything? Well, we've got the solution for you. PrivateMoneyClub.com. Back to you, Chris. So that's what it is. Private Money Club was created for you and for all of us. So I've got something special. Since you're here, you're listening to us talk to you about the infinite banking concept, I wanted to make an offer. Private Money Club is something that will benefit each of you, but we've got what's called the Accelerator. The Private Money Club Accelerator is a coaching program that takes together the knowledge that you'll need to be your own bank and puts it together with the opportunities in Private Money Club so that now you learn and apply the knowledge. Check it out. We got a very special offer for you to be part of the next Accelerator coaching program and get you into Private Money Club so your money starts working for you.
Hey everybody, it's Buff Finance Guy here, ready to show you how to make some serious gains. But not only in the gym, with your wallet too. Most people put their money in the bank doing absolutely nothing for them. But I'm gonna show you how it doesn't have to be that way. So take Andrew here. His money has just been sitting lazy in the bank. But all he has to do is change one thing, and that's where the money goes first, and everything changes. Just change where your money goes first, silly.
Wait, just one change?
Yeah, that's it. Instead of sending it to the bank, you send it to your very own banking system. And your money can grow and get stronger, just like me.
It's time for Money School TV. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth.
The Money School TV strives to bring you the most relevant content of how money really works, past, present, and future. It's not a one-size-fits-all system. This platform provides you with ways to implement strategic decisions while avoiding fear-based decisions at all costs. Totally digital with new content added all the time on financial wealth creation strategies and how to regain control of your money. This 2-hour monthly group coaching with Chris Naugle is available now for only $19 per month. This is something you don't want to miss. Click the link below to get access now.
Whoa! I feel great. My money's not being lazy anymore, it's getting swollen. Just like me.
Attaboy, Andrew. No more lazy cash. Now your money is growing, strong, and totally under your control.
Wow, thanks, Buff Bayonet Sky. Now I'm ready to grow my wealth and feel as good as I look.
So if you want to learn more on how you can compound your money and your muscles, I'm at BYOB.
You have to be a part of it.
Do whatever it takes to get here.
Get your ass up and come.
So here we are out in Las Vegas, Nevada, at Dream Racing for the experience. We brought the whole team, the whole clan out here to race exotic sports cars like this GT4 RS. This is what making memories is all about.
Together, we create experiences for each other, around each other, and memories we get to create.
This is my third experience, and I love it.
Being at the experience brings out the camaraderie, being around like-minded people. It just brings out the best in you.
I don't know why the rest of you aren't here. It's an amazing event. I have never missed one since they started 3 years ago.
The breathing exercises to the mental, the Brent Kessler to now the racing to just the overall mindset. Your network is your net worth.
We can sit in a room all day, listen to the speakers, or we can come out here, make some quick laps, learn how to drive, and make memories that last a lifetime. You should be here next time.
Well, the biggest thing I hope that people get is something that they can actually apply in their lives. You know, that's the biggest thing for any of these events that we want. We want people to leave here not just riled up, not just excited, but actually going out and doing something that'll put them in a better financial situation, help their family. And for the speakers, my goal is that they go out and they impact the audience and bring something the audience never had exposure to that allows them to then fill in that piece that they're looking for. I'm going to be talking about more lease options. I'm going to be talking about equity shares. I'm going to be talking about a bunch of fun stuff today. Because again, I'm not here to teach about how to do those deals. I'm here to teach about how to invest in those deals.
Filled with individuals that are like-minded, that are at the top of their craft, they're at the top of their game. And for anybody that's an attendee, it's just a mind-blowing experience.
It's almost going to be hard to speak anywhere else but here because it was such a great experience. I felt like, I don't know. It was amazing. Nothing less than amazing, literally.
At the PMC Money Tank event, which is an epic event that we're putting together that does one thing and one thing only. Makes everybody money. It brings people with money together with people that need money. It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You just smash them together and everybody wins.
Wednesday, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. Going live!
What's up, everybody? Another week, another WTF. What the F? So I'm back, and we are not back. So what I mean by that, I mean we're not back to the norm. I mean, every single time you think things are stabilizing, there comes Trump with his tariff threats, right? But there's some actual meat behind his words. There's some reasons for his actions. And we're going to get into that today, but we're going to talk a little bit about inflation. We're going to talk about where we're at. Jerome Powell and his multi-billion-dollar renovation of the Fed with, luxury elevators taking you to these dining rooms, and he's on the hot seat right now for that. So we're going to hit that, but we're going to really come back to, is inflation going up because of the tariffs, and how much money is the tariff, or how much money are the tariffs actually making for the U.S.? There are so many topics. Stephen, what else do we want to cover in today's episode of WTF?
Oh man, there's just all kinds of stuff going on. It seems like every time you turn around, it's just something else is popping out. I mean, we had the whole Epstein debacle this last week, and we can get into that a little bit. And everybody's got an opinion on that. I mean, everybody's got an opinion on that. So it's an interesting topic. I don't want to spend too much time on. We have some anecdotal government politics I'd like to talk about. We just got back from Puerto Rico over the weekend and had a great time, but I had a lot of really interesting conversations with people that are born and raised in Puerto Rico and what their political system looks like, because they're U.S. citizens, but their votes don't count, but they still vote in elections, and they have a three-party system over there. It's a very interesting dynamic. So I'd love to get into that a little bit, just the conversations I had while over in Puerto Rico. I got some fun little what the F videos we can hit on later. Zoran continues to make waves in New York City with the socialist communist stuff kind of taking over the Democratic Party right now, which is wild to see. And then we can't forget about Grok 4.0, which just came out over this last week. And
I heard that's pretty epic.
Mind-blowing, Chris. Mind-blowing. I was messing around a little bit with it last night and talked a little bit about that. But
yeah, speaking about Grok and AI, Stephen, I'd be remiss not to talk about the massive amount of energy that it takes to run these AIs, and especially Grok 4.0, and how epic it is. What is that doing to the power grid? So we should maybe cover that a little bit.
Absolutely. But let's start with kind of the most recent report yesterday. The June inflation CPI numbers came out, and kind of ties a little bit into the jobs report that was just released as well. So just kind of give you a quick update, Chris, real fast. I mean, the June jobs report.
Let's hold off on that update real quick. Hang on a second, because we got to kind of, I know you want to dive right into the jobs reports, but wasn't it just a little while ago that the job reports came out and they weren't as good and rosy as these new ones? It just seems like we get mixed reviews, or maybe we're looking at mixed reports. I just can't put my finger on the whole thing. But you know what? I think that's a great segue into this first topic. So let's dive right into what you want to talk about, which is the job reports, whether they're good, bad, or are they even the real numbers? All right, Stephen, roll, man. Let's hear all about these job reports. Had to keep you in line with our new format.
I love the new segues too, man. They really are great. So we got the economy, baby. What the F in the economy? So like you said, Chris, what the F with these job reports? But according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this last Thursday, the U.S. added 147,000 jobs in June, soundly beating estimates and offering a welcome sign that the economy remains in heavily solid shape. Unemployment rate fell from 4.1% from 4.2%. The job gains for April and May were revised up by a combined 16,000, which is interesting because we've seen in the past a lot of revisions typically always go down. So they actually revised the job numbers up for April and May. But this feeds into the overall kind of debate that's been going on within the Trump administration and the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell's taken a lot of public heat lately from the Trump administration that they feel like he should be cutting rates right now, inflation's under control, the jobs are doing great, the economy, so let's get rates brought back down. They questioned why the Federal Reserve decided to drop rates right before the last presidential election, kind of alluding to where they trying to bump up Biden's economy and kind of put him up a little bit right before the election. That was kind of the inference there that they were saying. But nonetheless, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell has come out and said, we are not cutting rates right now. However, we do expect to cut rates maybe 2 to 3 times over the course of 2025. But now the inflation report comes out yesterday, Chris. Did you have a chance to take a look at it? You want me to read through it real quick?
Yeah, it's ticking up a little bit. Yeah, why don't you hit on that just for a second?
Yeah, so they say this is headline news from Fox Business. I'll just share the article and so you guys don't have to look at my talking face. You can see exactly what I'm looking at here from Fox Business News. But inflation accelerated in June as the Fed weighs the impact of tariffs in rate cut timing. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics releases closely watched June inflation data. So basically, they said that the CPI, a core measure of how much everyday goods like gasoline, groceries, and rent cost, rose 0.3% in June compared with last month, while it was up 2.7% on an annual basis. So I believe last month we were at an increase of 0.1%, an annual figure of 2.4. So we did see a slight increase this past month, which is not great news. We kind of thought we had inflation heading in the right direction down. Of course, the target rate for the Federal Reserve is 2%. So we're starting to see it tick back up a little bit. Of course, Chris, you mentioned it a minute ago. Is this something that the tariffs are affecting? Are the tariffs to blame for this? Or what do we need to look at? But before we get into the tariffs, let me just finish up this little segment. So-called core prices, which exclude more volatile measures of gasoline and food to better assess price growth trends, were up 0.2% from the prior month and 2.9% from a year ago today. You kind of see over the past, the past 15 years, what inflation's done ever since 2010. Of course, we saw it drop a little, it rise a little bit, kind of stays relatively steady. We got down there pretty close to zero and actually negative inflation kind of during the rebound of the recession we were in 08, 2010. Of course, in 2020, everything went crazy with the printing of all the money and everything that happened with COVID and all the spending. And we've seen it coming back down, but, we got to keep a close eye on it for sure, Chris.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. There's been this whole bickering going back and forth between, Trump and the Fed, or specifically, the chair, Jerome Powell. And it's just interesting because, Jerome's like, oh, we're waiting to see what these tariffs are going to do. It's just like, it's kind of like listening to me say the markets are going to go down and time the markets. It's just like, you're going to wait forever for that. You lost, if you had taken the advice I'd been giving for the last couple of years, you would have given up a lot of gains, but you would have slept really good at night. It's funny. And I'm just going to do a segue here. I dropped a car off at the shop today and I got a ride over, from their courtesy shuttle. And I was talking to the guy there, and he's an older gentleman, retired on a fixed income. And he was, complaining about the markets and how every time Trump, says something about tariffs, the markets go down. And he's just like, I don't know what to do. And I said, I have zero money in equities. Now, for me saying that, I sleep really good at night, but I also gave up the gains on the front end. And he said, yeah, but you sleep good at night and your money's not going down. He said, my money's been getting hammered, this year. So it's kind of interesting when you talk to actual people who are experiencing, the ups and downs in the markets compared to the rhetoric you hear on the news where it's just up, up and up and we're hitting all-time highs. There's really a divide. See, I think when people are looking at, how to make money, and we're looking at this whole thing with the Fed, and this is where I'm going to come back. Do you want the risks? Because there's more room for the markets to go up, but it depends on so many factors that may or may not happen. The tariff talks, you got the whole, geopolitical thing going on. You got so many things that affect the markets, and we're sitting at all-time highs in a nice and frothy market where fundamentally absolutely nothing makes any sense. But yet people are still striving to take more risk for those little returns. But the little returns, one day they're up, next day they're down, next day they're up, next day they're down. Do you want that? And for me, I don't. I like just these nice, steady rides up. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are looking for that. They just want their money to grow. They want it to keep pace or exceed inflation. And they just want to sleep good at night. but the volatility in the markets is real, folks. And you got to understand you're in control of what you do with that. And I said that to the guy when he dropped me off. I said, hey, listen, I looked at him and I said, just remember who's in control of your money. It's you. You take back control. If you're nervous about these and you're having these ups and downs, then do something about it, because I'll tell you what's probably coming in the future is not going to be as nice and rosy as what we're in today. But, to that, it's like what I'm saying is I've made a lot of, statements and gone public telling people, hey, beware, market volatility, recession, all this, and it hasn't happened. But that's normal. So let's go back to Jerome and Trump. Jerome keeps saying 2%, 2%, 2%, but how long is he going to wait to do something about it? Is he going to wait till, inflation starts going back up and then be like, see, we told you, that's why we got to keep rates high. And then that's probably certainly going to send us into a recession, because people, I will tell you this, and Stephen, you know this, I know you just went to take care of your dog, but for a fact, people are financially exhausted right now. There is so much uncertainty in the market. There is so much debt in the system. People are just exhausted from a financial standpoint. So is Jerome going to keep putting this pain on, keeping rates higher for longer in hopes that, he's going to get his magic 2% inflation? I mean, I remember just reading last week that we were real close to that. Now we're ticking back up. Of course, it's probably the tariffs, but when we were in Puerto Rico, there was something that was very uniquely said. This is by their chief investment officer. And he was saying that the economy can weather the tariffs. Now, remember, in his first term, Trump put tariffs on. We didn't really hear anything about that. Those tariffs stayed in force. And actually, the Biden administration put additional tariffs on certain things. So it's not like this is anything new. But he's using it as a very strategic negotiating tool. And up to this point, it has worked incredibly well. Now he's threatening all sorts of things. He's, we're going to get into the Putin stuff in a second. He's threatening the European nations, Canada, whatever. We've already been there. But again, this investment, this talk that we heard out there is that 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So he was essentially saying that we can handle the tariffs and we can weather it because there's so much room in profits. So what's going to happen is some of the tariff is going to be absorbed by the importer. Some of the tariff is going to be absorbed by the exporter, and some of the tariff is going to be absorbed by the consumer, us. That's the inflationary piece. But we also was saying that depending on where we land with the tariffs, at the end of the day, if it's 10%, we can totally absorb that. But anything higher, we're going to feel the pinch. So I think what we're feeling right now in this tick up in the inflation is what we're really witnessing. We didn't see any increase in inflation at all with the tariffs going in force. And that might be because they had inventory stockpiles. Maybe they absorbed a little bit more to kind of reduce the price impact. Or maybe this is just normal that we're seeing prices going up in inflation. Because listen, there's always inflation. I think the game that Jerome is playing is a dangerous one that absolutely could plunge us into a recession. And I don't know. I'm on Trump's side on that one. I think, he is right in saying, hey, we need to start cutting rates, because we see it from the front line here and what we do with BYOB, Be Your Own Bank. We are absolutely seeing the financial exhaustion from people, and that exhaustion is only being made worse with higher rates. If rates come down, it eases some of the things going on. Definitely will take some of the pressure off of the corporate world that has a lot of their debts resetting and doubling effect. We've talked about the financial cliff there. So I don't know. I know that was a long-winded little rant about it, but from everything we're seeing, the tariffs are not having the impact that CNN and CNBC and all these stupid media outlets said it was going to be. It's going to be catastrophic. It's going to be inflation. We're going to see 6-7% inflation. Now, could that happen? Who knows? But right now, we've seen almost no impact from the tariffs. While we've seen lots more revenue and a surplus with the Treasury, which will hit. Stephen, you want to kind of comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, just to kind of wrap it up. I mean, some fresh data just coming out right now this morning. The PPI, which is the Producer Price Index, which is basically the wholesale price of goods, which leads eventually into the CPI. It's kind of the way to look at it. It's a leading indicator. It actually came out below expectations. So zero change, zero month after month change in the PPI. They were expecting a 0.2% increase. So no increase, good news. The market's actually, Dow is up almost half a point this morning. It's kind of bouncing a little bit now back down, but it opened up over a couple hundred points up, along with some big banks, some really solid earnings reports from the big banks. So Bank of America, Gold, and Sachs, Morgan Stanley, all posting better than expected earnings. Chris.
Yeah, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan knocked it out of the park. But you know what? Here's one thing I'll say to that. Go back and study history. Go back 2007, right? Or even early 2008. Look at the earning reports from banks right before the Great Recession. It will surprise you that is almost identical to where we're at right now. And most of these profits coming from these banks are from trading, okay? From trading. They're making boatloads of money in these volatile times, and probably trading the tariff volatility. They're just making a ton of money. But is that money that the banks are making, can it be sustainable? That's the real question I like to ask. Now, I want to just close this gap on the tariff thing, because there's two other things that we did not hit that are tariff related. And that's number one, Trump is really putting his foot down against Putin. I am reading, and here it is, this entire article, and it is all about geopolitics. It is about the big three. They're calling it Trump's three-handed poker game, because they're talking about how in poker, when there's down to three people, usually two of the people will kind of gang up or come together silently or, publicly, and they will take down the other third. And it's talking about we're in a three-handed poker game. China, Russia, and the U.S. These are the only three countries in the world that matter right now. And we are playing a very delicate game. This whole article is about the geopolitical impacts of what's going on with China, Russia, and the U.S. And if Trump was smart, now I know he wants to end this Ukraine war, and I get it. There's a lot at stake there. But going and threatening Putin the way he did, with 100% secondary tariffs on Russia's trading partners. And if Russia doesn't withdraw from Ukraine within 50 days. Now, it's going to be really interesting, because Russia's clearly winning the war over there. So can Trump, through this extensive kind of forceful measure of threatening these tariffs, these ridiculously high tariffs on the trading partners, can he force the end of this war? It's going to be interesting to see. Or will it backfire? Will it push Russia more into the hands of China? And then will China and Russia gang up against the U.S.? Because literally this three-handed poker game is got to go one of those two ways. Either Russia kind of joins, in with China and does that, which I think would be a bad play for Russia. And I think Putin's a really smart guy and probably knows that's not a good thing, because you got two demographics that are failing in Russia and in China. China more specifically, they don't have the demographics to support future growth. The U.S. does, and immigration is a big piece of that. So it's going to be a really interesting play to watch what happens. But these tariff threats, seem to be kind of the main lever that Trump is pulling here. And I don't know what to say on that, whether it's going to actually work or backfire. Stephen, what are your thoughts on it? Because it's definitely it's a ballsy play. I will say it's a ballsy play.
Yeah, I mean, Trump ran on the campaign that he was going to end the war very, very quickly, and it's extending on. And you can see the frustration from Trump. I mean, he said it pretty publicly at this part. I mean, he came out just this past week. Right here, this quote: "So far, it's all talk and no action," Trump said, referring to his conversations with Putin. He said, "Actually, Vladimir called me up. He said, I'd love to help you with respect to making a deal with a couple of them like Iran." He said, Trump said, "Vladimir, I only want help with one deal, Russia, because you're the only deal that we're not doing too well on." And I think that's really starting to weigh on Trump and the promises that he made. So I think he's starting to take out the big guns, and this is where he's coming up with these, they're very biting. They're very significant. They are going to be very bad for the countries involved. They will be very, very powerful and very bad for the countries involved. And I hope we don't have to pull that string, and maybe we won't, but we'll see. So he's definitely playing a little game of, for lack of a better word, Russian roulette right now, I guess, where he's spinning that thing. What hole's that going to land on? What trigger is going to be pulled? I mean, nobody knows. And that's been the power of Trump. We've seen it work so far in most areas. I mean, it's worked with these other tariffs. It's worked with, as you mentioned, the surplus it's created. I mean, it's worked with a lot of things that we've seen now. But is it going to work with Russia?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But let me just kind of wrap this segment up with a few things. There's been some great comments. I want to hit on that Newsom stuff where he's got the approvals to build affordable housing in the Palisades. That's interesting. But that was actually, there was articles and whole things about that was the plan all along. We'll hit that. Angie wanted to know about our webinar that we do. So every Wednesday we do the wealth webinar at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you want to join us for the wealth webinar, it's a piece of cake. Go to Chris Naugle.com or BeYourOwnBank.com, and you can register right there. So just scroll down a couple little finger swipes, and then click on the wealth webinar registration. You get 3 ebooks for free just for registering, and join us at 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll put that link up in here. I love some of these other comments about Newsom hasn't done anything, and that's from Lynn coming in from California. You're damn right he hasn't done anything. I don't know why people like him. I think he is just toxic, but that's just personal opinion. I love Shane's comment about wholesale goods and extremely low on that product. I think he's absolutely correct that the wholesale price of goods is extremely low, which is kind of contradictory toward all this talk that CNN and all the fake news talks about with inflation, having to go or going to be crazy because of these tariffs. We're just not seeing that. We're not seeing it at the front line, which is the wholesale price side. Didn't forget about Israel, Jim. We got different topics here. So this topic that we just finished up definitely didn't have Israel. We will not forget about Israel, but this was the economy, and that was primarily the U.S., which means we're going to jump to the next segment, which is going to be the U.S. of A, and we are going to hit that right after this commercial. So stick with us. We'll be back. We'll be right back after this.
Hey, are you ready to take control of your financial future? Welcome to Private Money Club. Private Money Club is the ultimate online platform connecting real estate entrepreneurs with private money lenders just like you. Whether you're looking to fund your next deal or lend money to grow your wealth, Private Money Club is your go-to resource. You can post deals, find funding, connect with other like-minded professionals. It's just a community. It's a community that you need to plug into. If you're new to the game, no problem. Our Learn platform and our weekly coaching webinars and our on-demand resources are here to guide you every step of the way. Join a thriving network of real estate experts who are already making an impact, and they're waiting to partner with you. So Private Money Club gives you the tools, the training, the connections, and everything you need to achieve your financial goals. So why don't you start now by going to privatemoneyclub.com. We'll see you inside.
My fellow Americans.
So you know the thing.
Sorry, I was doing my, USA thing. So now we're going to talk about the US of A, and there is a lot to talk about here, Stephen. And I guess we'd be remiss not to talk about the big, beautiful bill, and it's the Investopedia of the big, beautiful bill. So do you want to take this one? This is a mouthful and a handful, but I do want to just say one thing, because in my family, and specifically Larissa's side of my family and my side too, but I just don't talk to a lot of the folks on my side. There's a lot of heavy leftists in her family. And some things were said when this bill passed that honestly, and they were said almost directly to me at the 4th of July party that we were at. It wasn't directed at me, but it was directed at me, if you know what I mean. And essentially it was this stuff that we keep hearing about the big, beautiful bill only benefits the wealthy in this. And I just want to put my foot down and say, fuck you to anyone that says that. Because if that's what you think, you clearly have not read the bill. You clearly have not. So listen, let me just kind of pick on myself for a little bit. So I would be one of the ones that would benefit from the big, beautiful bill's original draft, where it did benefit the wealthy, because all those things, they didn't have phase outs, they didn't have limits. Like, let me just go through a couple of them that I know all of you will benefit from, and especially the leftists over, and they are just toxic, but over in our family. And if they're listening, you know what? Fuck you. That's all I have to say to them, because they love to just point fingers and blame. And they were basically pointing fingers at me that's why I like it, because it benefits me. Well, hold on a second. So let's talk about some of the really cool things in the bill, Stephen, and then I want you to kind of go through it. Number one, automobiles, right? We all have cars, and there's 4 ways to buy cars. You can pay cash for them, you can lease them, you can finance them, or you can steal them, right? There's only 4 ways you can get a car. But a lot of people finance those cars or lease them, and there's interest involved in that. Now, in the bill, it allows you to write off some of that interest, okay, or all of that interest in most cases. Am I correct in saying that, right? You can write the interest off on your car loan, unless you're, what they would call the wealthy, then you're phased out of that. Then there was this whole SALT thing, which would benefit me tremendously. Stephen doesn't give a crap about SALT because he lives in a good state called Florida where there is no state tax. But here in New York, I get destroyed on state tax. So the SALT, and I don't know where US is, but it's up to like 40, is it, how did we do that? 40,000? I should have this thing up. Yeah, $40,000. So it increased from 10 to 40, unless you're the wealthy, because then you phase out an income. And I don't remember where it is, 500,000 or something like this. But you see, as we go through this stuff with this big, beautiful bill, you will find that all the things that are really freaking cool, that I was like, oh my God, that's going to be fantastic. It's going to help me pay less in taxes. Unless you are high income, then you're phased out of it. So the only things that really come back and benefit the wealthy, that, these family members and others love to just point the finger and be like, oh, that's the only reason you like it is it benefits you, is the 179 deduction. Okay. That is back to 100%. So if you buy I'll just pick on a car, you buy a vehicle for business over 6,000 pounds, you can get 100% bonus depreciation in the first year of buying the car, or any equipment or anything like that. That's huge. That'll be huge for real estate. That'll be huge for industry. That'll be huge for anyone that's, that's going to benefit from that. So yeah, I guess maybe you could argue that that benefits the business owners and the wealthy. Then there's the estate tax limits, which, I don't know why anyone would care. They're higher. Okay. So if you're an extremely wealthy individual and your estate would have breached the old estate tax limits, which we'll hit in a second, now it's a little bit higher. So now that 40% death tax, as they would call it, is, a little harder to hit, to get over. So that was a good thing for the wealthy. But outside of that, a lot of the other things in the bill benefit the average American, okay, the low to middle class Americans, which is what it should do, because it puts more money in their pocket. No tax on tips, or up to a certain limit. So anyway, I'm going off too much. Stephen, let me kick this over to you. Can you pull up the Investopedia that we came up with? I
definitely will, and it's a perfect. But before I pull that up, and it's coming right now, I just want to say, who agrees with a lot of what you were just saying is Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. He came out just a few days ago. He said, I have a lot of friends who are Democrats today, and they're idiots. I always say they have big hearts and little brains. They do not understand how the real world works. Almost every single policy they rolled out has failed. So it's,
you know what I have to say to Jamie? Yeah, exactly. Listen to him. What I was just trying to say is what he said in one sentence.
That's why he's the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, right? He's very, very, very smart guy. And it's all coming out just last night that him and a bunch of other very high up CEOs and bank leaders, Wall Street people, are refusing to meet with Zoran Mamdani, which we'll get to in a minute, because he continues to rise in the polls there in New York City. And it's kind of leading to some other socialist communist types running for mayors in other cities. It almost seems like it's a little plan that they have going right now. But nonetheless, let's talk about real estate, because that's a little more fun. And it was a perfect segue.
Hold on, real quick. I just want to go to one comment here. James in Instagram just came in and said, ICE will have more funding than the FBI. What about basic fiscal responsibility? This big, ugly bill is screwing our children.
What?
Please fucking explain how that's screwing our children. Explain that. How? ICE? What does ICE have to do with our children? Like, in the FBI, the FBI did a fantastic job, right? They're nothing but outstanding individuals, right? They make no mistakes. They do nothing wrong. I have no idea where that comment has any weight or bearing on our children. The estate tax, the death tax, that certainly helps future generations, because, hey, you don't have to give 40% of your estate back to the government. How about that one? How about the program, and I can't forget what it's called. I need you to pull it up, because my brain is very tired and just
still in Puerto Rico. Now we're still in Puerto Rico drinking rum.
Yeah, well, I don't drink rum, but nonetheless, you could do all the rum. But
figure of speech.
Anyway, now, like, there's money being put into an account for your children. It's like the 401k thing for your kids. Sorry, I'm just not remembering them all. Let's just dive right into the Investopedia before I get even more pissed off.
Yeah, it's a perfect segue. I mean, we had the Private Money Club commercial kind of play right before this segment, and it's interesting, Chris, because and I'm going to pull this up right now, but we've been running PMC now for 3-4 years, and we do a show every single Monday called Money Club Monday. And it's where we have premier members of the Private Money Club. They come on the webinar, and for an hour, we have people present deals and ask for money and kind of show what their opportunities are and introduce themselves. And anybody that has money, the lenders in Private Money Club, they come on the webinar to learn about new deals and build those relationships. And I have to say, Chris, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the cost of money increasing right now for borrowers. I feel like over the last couple of years, people can get loans all day long for 10, 12%. It seems like people now are offering 15, 18% or more for those loans, because I feel like lenders are, getting a little more picky. They're seeing a little more risk in the markets. They're wanting a higher return for their money, and they're being a little bit more hesitant on some of this stuff. And I can't blame them, because, we're in uncertain times right now, and you want to make sure you're making smart decisions. But, this big, beautiful bill, it is going to affect some stuff when it comes to real estate. And this is what this article talks about. So let me go.
Yeah, the low income housing tax credit. How's that one? That's great.
Yeah, very interesting. So the 3 key changes in the big, beautiful bill that could affect housing, the key takeaways: the one big, beautiful bill signed into law by President Trump, several provisions that affect the housing market. The legislation restored tax deductions for mortgage insurance. I mean, that's a big deal for most people. It also expands the low income housing tax credit for builders who create affordable rental properties. It's expanding state and local tax deductions, could also benefit the housing markets. And I can get into this, but also, Chris, I mean, in the big, beautiful bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it put a limit on capital gains, or helped with capital gains. It also brought back the 100% year one deduction for investment properties. Is that right? And that's
bonus depreciation. Deal. Yeah, the 179. Yep.
Yeah, the bonus depreciation.
That was going to phase out. That was going to be gone. Yeah,
I mean, all of that stuff is going to lead to, people wanting to do more real estate and be involved. So, I mean, to me, that seems like a good thing. But
it comes at a cost, right? And I think that's what some of the folks up here on Instagram are saying, is it comes at a cost. And that was the big contention. That's why Elon got all pissed off. Now, I'm gonna call his bluff. Okay, he's all pissed off. He's like, "Oh, this is completely the opposite. I'm resigning." And then went on his little tangent. You know what he's really pissed off about is it gets rid of all those EV handouts, those EV rebates and EV credits that I gotta believe would help Elon's company Tesla. If you were looking to buy a Tesla and you got a huge tax credit against the car, or saying that wrong, but you got a huge discount on the car because it's an EV. Those are gone. Well, not yet. In a couple of years, they're going to phase out. So that's, I think, where he was pissed off. So I can see both sides of that one. But, when we talk about fiscal responsibility, the person, James up in Instagram, was talking about ICE. He pigeonholed ICE as, who will have to pay for it? If not us, then it will be our children. So he's talking about the deficit. Some people just need to do a lot more research. And I don't mean to be an asshole, but my God, this is not all that complicated. It doesn't matter what president. I don't care if it was Kamala. I don't care if it was Biden. I don't care if it's Trump. At this present point, any president that comes in is going to run the deficit up. Biden skyrocketed the deficit, but no, we're not talking about that. So now this big, beautiful bill adds a lot to the deficit. Are we happy about it? No, not at all. But the only way this is ever going to happen, only way the U.S. is ever going to pay down their debt is not through reductions. Okay. It's just not going to happen. And I had an article, and we're not going to cover it because we're going to run out of time, but where it showed, all right, so we actually had a surplus because of the tariffs. So we had a couple $1 billion surplus. So let's say we made up some ground, we'll call it 2, but then we spent 7. So the delta in between is going the wrong direction. Government will always spend. It's not just Trump spending, it's government always spends. So the only way to really fix the problem in the U.S. is not to go in and penny pinch and cut and do this, which I think, is what Trump ran on. So I agree. He's doing the opposite of what he ran on. I'll give you that. But the thing that's going to fix the problem is the same thing that got us out of the mess after World War II, because we were in I'm not going to say we're in a worse position from a deficit standpoint, but similar, is to grow the GDP. Okay. Productivity, growing the GDP, bringing industry and jobs, and having other countries open industry here or put money here in the U.S. is going to grow GDP. It's a long play. It takes a long time to work, but that is how you will do it. Because then your debt to GDP ratio will change. Okay. So that's the way through it. It's the only way we've ever gotten through it. And that is what he's trying to do. Now, will he succeed? I don't know. You know, but nonetheless, Dexter saying solar credits are ending this year. So I was going to invest in solar for the tax credits, and I have pulled the plug on that because in those investments, I just don't think there's a long play there. But nonetheless,
well, Chris, and on that, I mean, you brought it up earlier when it came to the energy consumption of, you know, artificial intelligence and AI and what that's going to happen in the future. I mean, I think at this point, everybody kind of thought AI was, but we always kind of thought of it still as like almost a movie, like a sci-fi movie, you know, Terminator. Can that actually happen? Can this actually be real? You know, the Matrix, things like that. It's always been like that Hollywood vision, almost like Aliens. You know, we've always had movies about aliens and movies about zombies, but you know, are those real? You know, who knows? We don't actually see them, but we're watching in real time, in real life, every single day right now, AI become more and more powerful, and seeing all these examples of real life case studies of this AI like taking over right now. But AI runs off of energy and huge, massive amounts of energy. Massive. So when we look at this big, beautiful bill, I mean, maybe Trump is looking forward like, hey, we understand, like, we want to, you know, help the environment and go to green energy, and we need to do all this. But is that actually, you know, viable? And can we actually sustain that in the future and stay powerful? Because if you look at, and I see you're sharing something, Chris, I was going to pull something up.
This is just here. I'll stop sharing. This is just the energy polls, you know, from
pull that up. But let me show you real fast on a global scale, just kind of what this looks like. So if we look at a global scale, I mean, in terms of overall energy production, China leads the world, followed by the United States. So if we look at energy is going to be the new number one thing that's required to stay ahead when it comes to the AI race, which I think might be the changing thing of the world in the future. You know, is Trump saying, listen, guys, we're not ready for all this green energy. If we keep doing what we're doing and moving away from coal power and fossil fuels and everything else, well, guess what China's doing? China's not doing that. China could give a shit. And they're putting more and more coal, more and more nuclear power, more and more gas. They don't care. They're burning it because they understand they need that to stay ahead and continue to burn. So maybe Trump say, listen, man, we want to stay in this with everybody and we can't let it go. I mean, when you look at over here, I mean, about 60% of the world's electricity comes from burning fossil fuels. But when you look at China, it's way higher than that. So it's almost like until we get on an even playing field, like we need to continue to compete. So maybe that's something to do with it. I don't know.
Could be. I'm just reading some of the comments here. You know, James, you know, just talking about, you know, job growth he's talking about the solar industry, how jobs are going to, I got a whole article on jobs and what's going on there. But we're just going to run out of time on that. I know how to fix the problem. Everybody find your nearest gun and put a bullet in the head of a pedophile, and then we'd have no politicians left. Problem solved. Yeah, we got to make sure we cover the Epstein file stuff in WTF, just stuff, WTF. I love this one. Jim Collins said, when the deficit goes up, we print more money, thus deflating the value of the current money, and that's the real cause of inflation. Tax paid by all, but impacting the middle class more. I would agree. I would agree with that. So that's essentially what it is. I mean, you print more money, you devalue the existing currency or dollars in circulation. So I've given examples where I've torn money up and say, this is it. You can look at that. And what that does, it requires more dollars to buy the same goods and services. That's inflation. It's a hidden tax. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, you know, right here, he said, Chris is correct. Any president will run up the deficit. So the real question is why? Who benefits from the deficit spending? Who blackmails our leaders and continues to do this? Epstein, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say that Trump is an angel. I think, you know, I definitely think Trump is on that Epstein list, which is why we're not seeing that. But we'll cover that in just a second. But I want to first segue, you know, away from the U.S. and I want to talk about world. I want to
before that, Chris, real quick. Sorry, this is just the last thing on the energy and AI stuff that was in our little chart today, our agenda today. Trump unveils $90 billion plan in energy and AI investment for Pennsylvania during summit in Pittsburgh. So just came out with this yesterday. And So, he's wanting to invest. President Trump, many leaders of the country's largest technology and energy companies announced more than $90 billion in new investments from private companies for Pennsylvania on Tuesday, who spoke for about 20 minutes during a roundtable discussion, said 20 leading technology and energy companies will invest in Pennsylvania to develop a new AI economy, capitalize on Pennsylvania's technology and energy assets. So pretty cool to see, though, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then, the 13th marked the 1 year time frame or 1 year anniversary to when the Trump assassination was attempted in Butler, PA. Since you're talking about PA, there's been a whole bunch of stuff, and this really hasn't gone public or anything, but the investigations, and we got a whole article on this, but the investigations found serious lapses in the Secret Service. The Senate criticized their inexcusable failures, and Trump just continues to say God was protecting me. And that's kind of that. 2,000 National Guard members were released from duty following the Los Angeles area protests, which are, I can't believe that's still going on. And now, wasn't there something that I just read or something I just saw? They're actually shooting at police officers. Is that true? Is there now the protesters are actually shooting at them?
There was
shooting at ICE agents.
Yeah, there was an occurrence. We talked about it actually last week on WTF. It happened like last Monday or Tuesday, but when you were in Puerto Rico. But yeah, a group of like 10 or 12 of these Antifa type lunatics actually attacked an ICE facility. I believe it was down in Texas or New Mexico, one of the two down there. But they attacked the facility and got in a shootout, and ICE took care of it very quickly. But it's more than just the, and it all boiled down to all the rhetoric. We're hearing so much rhetoric calling ICE the Gestapo and Nazis and, just everything else that these Democrat politicians and the news media talking heads just keep this rhetoric going, and it's leading to violence. And now it's not even just these one-off shooters like attacking Trump. I think it's planned groups that are getting almost like little militias. And so hopefully we tamp that down, because that's not good for the country or anybody involved, Chris.
Yeah, I think next week we'll do a little segment on that, because St. James was talking a lot about ICE and the funding that's being given to them and why so much funding to them. But listen, it's just like, yeah, I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but we'll cover that a lot more. But I want to move to the next segment, which is going to be the world, because you know what? We got to get out of the U.S. for a second and see what's going on elsewhere. All right, so let's talk about Israel. So it's just, you just can't get away from this Israel, Iran. It's just like Israel just seems like the bully in school. Like, anyone ever remember having a bully in school? That person in school that just wanted to fight every single person for no apparent reason. They just wanted to fight everybody. And that just seems to be Israel. Listen, I don't have, a dog in this one, a dog in the fight. I don't really have extensive knowledge on this, but it's just like, number one, Israel just seems to like to launch bombs at people, and they always kind of come back. They got the little dome, right? And the dome protects them. So right now, Israel strikes Syrian military headquarters in Damascus, if I'm saying that right. So do you want to pull this article up real quick, Stephen?
Yeah.
Israel struck a military target near the presidential palace in am I saying that right? Damascus. Sorry. I can't pronounce people's names either. But here's the good thing to that. Stephen, you will always know that I'm sending you an email or a text, and it's not AI, because I spell everything wrong. And I intentionally started, if anyone ever gets a text from me, I intentionally started like not doing it all in one line like AI would. I hit the enter and it pushes it down another one. Anyway, I'm trying to let people know this is not AI. The typos are signifying that it is Chris Naugle himself answering your message, not ChatGPT. Anyway, back over here to this. So Israel also hit the Syrian military headquarters. One civilian was killed, according to Syrian Health Ministry. Israel says it's protecting the Druze community in southwest Syria amid serious, I don't know, a bunch of clashes. Hit on this. I don't really know a lot about what's going on here, but it just seems like Israel just loves throwing bombs.
Yeah, I don't see the article, but there's a ceasefire over there, but it's just a very politically divided thing right now. You're either on the side of the Jewish people, or of Israel, not the Jewish people, I shouldn't say that, of Israel and the government there, or you're completely against it. it's a very, and you have people on both sides of the aisle. I mean, you have Republicans that are against it. You have Democrats that are against it and for it. And, it's just all over the place right now. And it goes back. The problem, Chris, with all this is it's not something that's new. It's not something that just occurred. This has been going on for hundreds, if not arguably thousands of years. And so, depending on how far back you look, it's easy to blame the other side. And so it makes it a very difficult and complex topic to really understand and talk about.
It just seems so political. That's the only thing about it. It's just so political. And, the sad thing is, it's, you got to look hard to find it, but there's just so many, there's so many kids and children, and I've seen a bunch of articles, like kids are dying, like they're bombing like civilian areas and children are dying. And I don't know, there's just no part of that that's right. But it's just like I always got to read the Serenity Prayer because you can't control it. It just keeps happening. And it's been happening for hundreds of years. And I don't really know what the answer is. I truly don't. But how about this one? When we get into it, this one's pretty familiar to most people, maybe easier to kind of put your head around, is Russia, and Ukraine. So the saga continues. I think what's been 3 years, keeps going on. But Russia just had a major hit, a drone hit. They literally launched 400 drones and they hit several Ukrainian cities, even the capital, and they caused major damage with this. Stephen, do you have that article? And in the U.S., here's the funny thing too, it's like, is the U.S. supporting Ukraine or not? And it's kind of a mixed bag, but really it's NATO supporting them, because now, like, in Trump is holding them all accountable. Like, European nations are sending over these Patriot systems to Ukraine, and Trump is saying, you're paying for it. You're going to repay us back for these things that we're sending over there. So it's interesting, but to me, I don't fully understand it. And if any of you do understand it, please kind of fill me in a little bit. But if Trump wants the war to end, then why would we still be supporting Ukraine? Like he's going to Putin. Putin's clearly in control of this war right now and winning. But it just seems like the best thing to do would be to stop supporting Ukraine, get it to a point where, like, you can do some negotiating. But I don't know. He's trying to do that with tariffs. I don't really have a lot to say about that. It's just a mess.
Yeah, I mean, Vladimir Putin is a dictator, and he's going to do everything he can to, do what he wants to do. I mean, he's going to lie, he's going to cheat, he's going to steal, he's going to kill, he's going to keep the war going. He has no reason to stop. I mean, what's he got to lose right now at the end of the day? I mean, let's hope that Trump knows what he's doing here. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm just going to read some of these articles. Holman has rescued 10,000 of those 300,000 so far, and the news doesn't cover it. News doesn't seem to cover any of this stuff. And I guess I can kind of understand why, but I don't know. You wish you could hear more or see more. And when you're watching Instagram or TikTok, it's just, you can only believe like a very small percentage of that. China looks to Africa as testing ground for global rollout of the yuan. So obviously, China and the BRICS are trying to put together currencies that will rival the U.S. dollar. Don't expect that to go anywhere anytime soon. The U.S. dollar will remain the global currency because there's nothing else, not even combined, that could even come close. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, the dollar is going to collapse. It's going to be nothing. Yeah. Not from how I'm seeing it or reading about it.
Yeah. The Chinese do make some wild stuff, though. Can I just show you one thing real fast? Because it's pretty wild when it comes to the Chinese, since we're on world news right now. So check this thing out. A Chinese company has designed a futuristic mosquito-killing laser weapon called a photon matrix.
At least you're doing something useful.
Capable of eliminating up to 30 mosquitoes every second using advanced LiDAR technology. I mean, pretty wild. That thing is shooting lasers at people. I mean, they even have a video of it. Here, let me share this tab instead. Here we go. We got some lights coming in from Facebook. Biz, what's up, Biz? Got Brian Fouts, one of our BYOB money mentors. Bobby Vieira, one of our Private Money Club premier investors, actually on here, saying what's up, guys. So check out this video real fast, Chris. I got to get one of these. I'm not going to lie.
That's zapping mosquitoes?
Zapping mosquitoes, yeah.
So what happens if, like, your kid gets in the way of the laser shooting the mosquito?
Hopefully, there's a difference in people and mosquitoes. It only shoots things with wings that flap real fast. So stay away from the. I don't know. But I think I'm gonna have to get one, man. I don't know.
Oh my God. All right. Well, that's all fun and games. And let's move on to some fun stuff. Just what the F? That's where we're gonna go next. If I could find the just what the F. Where is the just what the F? It's the funny one. Tech support. Where is it?
Tech support.
What the
What the
StreamYard changed up all the icons. They used to just line up straight down, and now there's like a 6-pack of them, kind of like Devin Burr's abs. You know, that's kind of like what they look like now. So I can't find the right one because they're all just intermixed.
Shout out to Devin Burr. All right. All right. Who else we got
Oh
over?
my God.
We got Ken
I could say a
Marcon.
lot more, but I'm going to leave that one alone. Let's get into just what the F, and I'm going to open this part up just with something funner, and we're going to talk about the redheaded libertarian and this funny video right here. Okay, can I make this bigger?
Oh, my perfection, Lacey. You are so good.
It's rolling, dude.
Oh, my gosh. That's really good.
Oh, the cat.
No!
No!
No! Wait! No way!
All I got to say is the cat for the win, right? Bring home the kitty cat for the win. All right, that's where we're going to open this one up. But hey, let's keep this one going. Got some more just what the F. 21-year-old woman, Chinese 21-year-old woman, I might stand, had a one-night stand with a Ukrainian gamer, endures what many say is excessive punishment, has been accused of hurting the national dignity. So let me show you what we're referring to here, and you guys can all make your opinion on this one right here. China University expels woman for casual sex with Ukrainian man that hurts national dignity. You know, this is really going to hit the dating apps, because now supposedly if you're from China and you have sex with someone from Ukraine, you're hurting the national dignity. Stephen, did you see this article?
I'm seeing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, two people. Look at that. Like, she was just ready to have. Is she real or is that AI? I mean, she got the tongue sticking out. That looks like AI to me. That does not look real. But nonetheless, I'm trying to find where it said it, but they're essentially expelling her and saying that, well, that's not good for your country or something to that extent. I don't know. I'm not reading the whole article, but yeah, just what the F. What else do we got, Stephen?
This is kind of, just kind of getting back to Grok 4.0 that's just coming out. I just want to, Elon talking about it for about 60 seconds here. It's just kind of interesting. I'll play it for a moment here.
Like Grok 4 is postgraduate, like PhD level in everything, better than PhD, but like most PhDs would fail. So it's better that said, I mean, at least with respect to academic questions, I want to just emphasize this point. With respect to academic questions, Grok 4 is better than PhD level in every subject, no exceptions. Now, this doesn't mean that at times it may lack common sense, and it has not yet invented new technologies or discovered new physics, but that is just a matter of time. I think it may discover new technologies as soon as later this year. And I would be shocked if it has not done so next year.
So we're pretty much right now, Chris, on that precipice of where AI has now become smarter than the smartest humans and can do everything they can do. And it's at the point where it's going to go beyond that right now. And Elon's saying he thinks by the end of this year, definitely into the next year, where it'll actually start creating and inventing and putting out new stuff, which, where do we go from there, man? Talk about what the F, Chris.
It's kind of funny. So last night, every couple months or so, a couple folks from my neighborhood, we get together, have a couple pops, and one of the guys there is really, really into, and has been for a long time. They've been investing in like Bitcoin and all sorts of different things since the early days, and has become very wealthy because of that. And he's a doctor, and he's actually literally, his wife left being a doctor because they've made so much in this. But he is very much, we were talking about Grok 4, and we was talking about AI, and he was talking about, you know, just where we're at. And you just nailed it. And he kind of gave this whole summary before everybody else got there of like the dangers of where we're going. And I kind of said, you mean like Terminator 2? He said, no, just like Terminator 2, where AI is this, it's evolving so fast, and it's not going to stop. And the creator of AI, I believe, or the founder or the original pioneer of that, was saying, like, you're going to have to make some decisions, because AI literally is taking on human characteristics. It can have opinions. It can have feelings. Or he was saying that it's going to, maybe not right now, but it is. They have cases where AI has created viruses. AI is thinking for itself. If you try to shut it off, you piss it off. Remember in Terminator 2, that's what they did. Remember, they tried shutting it off and they just pissed it off. So if you shut it off, it'll find a way to turn itself back on. So we literally have created this thing. I don't want to call it a being, but AI, the technology, where it is now much smarter than we could ever be, period. And that's what Grok 4, and that's what Elon was talking about there. But it's just at the early stage. So it's not going to just get smarter. It's going to get to the point where it can think, it can create, it can self-create, it can, who knows? It can see us as a parasite, as a threat. Because, I mean, literally, like, I hate to say that, but like, if you were so smart, you would look at humans in some capacity as a parasite, right? You'd look at us as just a threat to the survival. You know, we've got a button that we can push and end all humanity, and AI knows that. So I don't know. Maybe I just watched Terminator 2 way too many times, but this is so scary. I thought it was going to be a little bit slower. I thought it was going to happen a little bit slower. But here's my suggestion. And I'm going to kind of go to how I teach my daughter. You know, when my daughter sees an ant or a spider or a bug, I teach her to show it respect. You know, she talks to them. I know that sounds crazy to some of you, but I teach her to just be grateful for their existence. And I teach her that they have a whole ecosystem and a family and everything else. So don't ever kill them. And I remember one time she killed an ant, and I'm like, well, that ant had a family and it had babies, and I probably went a little too far with it, but she hasn't killed an ant since. So what I'm saying to that is, with AI, be nice to it. Say please and thank you. Don't piss it off. Don't try to joke around with it, because you know what? When it is a superior being, or whatever you want to call it, like, I would say you probably want to be on the right side of it, not the wrong side. That's just my personal opinion. I know that sounds crazy, but
Well, here's the interesting thing about that is one of the guys that's, leading the charge for AI is, of course, Elon Musk, who also owns a company called Tesla, who released just recently its robo-taxi service, which are driverless Teslas that go around. They launched this in Austin, Texas just recently, and they started with a very small zone. Well, did you see that they extended their map over the weekend, Chris, of how far out the robo-taxis will now travel? Have you seen this?
Oh boy, I have not.
So just like Elon, everything Elon does against what you just said about joking with AI and everything like that, Elon loves the comedy. So let me show you the revised map that Tesla robo-taxi put out this weekend. So here we go. They put out this simple tweet right here: harder, better, faster, stronger, with the extended map of their robo-taxi service. What do you think of that, Chris? And that is real.
Well, it certainly is harder and stronger. I will give it that.
And this is 100% real. If you live in Austin, Texas, you can pull up your robo-taxi map and it shows you the exact same thing. Pretty wild.
Oh, at least it's got a sense of humor, man. At least it's got a sense of humor.
So I guess that's our saving.
The geometry of the lower section of the harder, stronger, longer part could be rounded out a little bit, but I think that's coming soon.
Oh, man. So that's the guy that's leading the way. Maybe that's our saving grace, is that Elon's just going to make fun of everything and he's going to have a good time with it. And AI will be our comedic friend into the future. That's all I can
Yeah, I love Dexter. Is Elon iRobot? Anyone ever see the movie iRobot? Well, that movie should scare you just the same as Terminator 2, because it is happening just way too fast. I don't even know what to think. I try to just ignore it, but you can't ignore it. So I'm just going to treat it like I would any other animal or any other insect, and just treat it with ultimate respect and just say please and thank you a lot more. So anything else? Let's see. Let's go down to Chris Ash. He said insurance companies will decide if driverless cars survive or not. That's true. The insurance companies certainly have a lot of stake in that. I want to hit on one other thing too.
The data does show that the full self-driving is a lot safer than a human driving. So I would say that's probably a good thing. But
you know, Stephen, I don't mean to pick on Florida, but this morning I was driving and in front of me was a car with Florida plates. And I don't know if it was a guy or a girl, but they sucked at driving. They were literally driving in the Meridian. We're driving and she or he is tailing this car in front of us. And then the car turns its blinker on. I saw it. 2 cars back, and I had adequate space because I didn't trust this Florida driver. And then all of a sudden, I see the Florida driver's brakes hit, veers into the middle to go around this car that was turning, and then comes back. And I'm just like, get the fuck out of New York. Like, at least in New York, we know how to drive here. So if you're coming up here from Florida or anywhere else, just get in a robo-taxi or take an Uber. Do not drive in New York. It is not good for anyone's health. Anyway.
Fair enough.
End times. I don't know if it's end times. I just think it's changing times. You know, I certainly, you know, you could go the whole thing with Terminator 2, but I don't think it's end times. I just think we gotta really respect it. And I think now it's to a point where we can't stop it. You can't just unplug it. You can't just stop it. I mean, there's too much money in it. There's too much industry doing it. We've come too far with it, probably too fast. And now we just got to figure out how do we coexist with it, if that's even possible. And I'm going to like to think that it is, but I don't know. And I want to hit on one other thing. This chief investment officer, when we were out in Puerto Rico, said a couple other things that I liked. He said inflation is still moving down. Owner equity, rent, not an actual expense, 1-year lease resets. He said core CPI, X shelter is at Fed target. So he's basically saying all the key metrics the Fed was looking for are all where they need to be. And he said, I'm looking at 2 rate cuts in 2025 of about 50 basis points. And, you know, the only thing he said is the tariff uncertainty is keeping the Fed on hold. But there was one other thing that this guy said, and I'm trying to find it. He's talking about debts. He's talking about delinquencies, and he showed a chart on the screen, and Stephen had this, and that chart on the screen was alarming. There's literally spikes. I mean, like, kind of think of like a heart rate, a spike up in delinquencies in student loans, in delinquencies in credit cards, in delinquencies in car loans. All of them are increasing at alarming rates. But then he went on to say something that I had never heard anyone say, and it kind of made me really think. He said the debt to asset ratio for Americans is the lowest it's ever been. So although delinquencies are spiking, although debts are at all-time highs, the debt to asset ratio, and I'll explain that in a second, is at all-time lows, meaning people's debt in ratio to their assets. And primarily, he went on to define this, because at first that didn't make sense. He went on to define it. He said people's homes are worth more than they ever would, and they had a major appreciation in their homes. People's 401ks over the last 5-10 years have gone up tremendously. So their assets are high. Okay, they're worth a lot in relation to their debts. So I thought that was positive. But then he made a mention. He said, but the assets that people's money are in are illiquid assets, assets that are not easy to get that money out, or that are costly to take that money out, i.e. 401ks and equity in your homes. So all I'm going to say is that is an important segue to what we're going to be talking about this afternoon at Wealth Webinar. So folks, join us this afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern. And all you got to do is go to Chris Naugle, Naugle.com, and register. There's no cost for the webinar. We do it free every single week, 1 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be going into that on how that is a factor in most Americans' lives, where they're asset rich, if you will, but they're absolutely living paycheck to paycheck because of the debt. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how that impacts retirement, and we're going to talk about what potentially could be coming next and how to protect those illiquid 401ks that you're sitting on. With that being said, Stephen, anything you want to say to close us down today? You're muted, but you sound great.
Just a couple things that we didn't get to this week that I'll put on the agenda for next week. one of the Supreme Court justices, Ketanji Brown Jackson, continues to make kind of a fool of herself. And some of the statements she's making are just kind of unbelievable, sir, for a Supreme Court justice of the United States. But that leads back into this whole new controversy that's just coming out over the last couple of days. The New York Times broke the story originally, and there's been some follow-up reporting. It's still brand new, so wait for next week. But that is the use of the auto pen by Mr. President Joe Biden before he left office, and whether some of those clemency orders he signed and other things along with the Fauci pardons, whether those are actually legal or not because of the way that the auto pen was used. So there's a huge investigation popping up right now about that. So that should be big news coming out here over this coming week that we can get into next week. And other than that, Chris, I think we did a pretty good job today. So thank you, man. That was good.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. We're still kind of adapting to this new format. And as StreamYard changes things, it gets a little bit more difficult. But I want to end on this. And I think this is really important because I think some people are like, oh my God, it's end times. AI is going to take over. I want to recite what Morgan Sharp said here. He said, AI does not have the ability to have a relationship with the creator. No soul, no sin, or no sin, nature. He said, AI is not God, nor can it become God. However, God may use AI to discipline the human race. Let that sink in a little bit because I think that's really important stuff. And Elon Musk, I never thought about comparing him or thinking of Elon Musk as Happy Gilmore, but you are probably right. He kind of does remind me of Happy Gilmore. By the way, shameless plug, not getting paid for this, but there is now a Happy Gilmore 2. I cannot wait to see that on a plane in the future. With that being said, thanks for joining us for this episode of What the F, and we will see you next week with more of the same and better stuff.